Welcome, Dr. Nima Rahmany. It's so good to see you again.
So wonderful to be a guest on your show, and I love watching what you're doing, and that bright smile and your way of being tells me that you're actually loving what you're doing right now.
I
Uh,
really am. I really
Am
am.
I accurate there?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
totally loving what I'm doing. I love bringing out the best in other people or letting other people see the beauty inside of other people because
beautiful.
we live in this crazy life where we just go from thing to thing, and a lot of times we don't pause and reflect on some very important things. So that's what I like to do. And before we get started, I want to just tell people a little bit about you. I first learned of you. There was a commercial that was being shown that you have put together. I found it on Facebook, and I must have played it like 10 times. And I shared it like crazy because it was so original. I'd never seen anything like this. And so it's now on YouTube, and I had asked for your permission before starting this, whether I could share that with everybody. So I'm going to show that right now.
Richard, what seems to be the problem?
Everything.
Tell me more.
Let me just show you.
I think I found the problem.
Well, thanks for taking me on a trip down memory lane. That was a really fun day where we had no plans. We just bored in the office, and I had this little creative spark within me that was unexpressed. And it's this pattern that I felt that I went through in my chiropractic practice where I would build and build and build and build, and then get to a certain level and then feel unfulfilled as to, okay, is this it? Is it just about going to work and making money and that's it? And then I would go into these periods of anxiety because of that. I was like, is this what my life is? Because this why I put on to just go and adjust people, which I love doing, make money, and then that's it. And then there was a part of me that was still unexpressed. And so I made the video, and then wow, lo and behold, I got this part of me out, and then the feedback from everybody else started becoming, oh wow, wow, my God, this is amazing. And then people started sharing that. And before I knew it, within the chiropractic community, which is small in the world, if we look at the world of chiropractors, it was universally shared. And so it would be to the point where this young chiropractor in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada, a couple of years in, was traveling to Parker and different places all over the world, Parker, and doing the toe solution, and people were coming up to me going, hey, are you that guy in the video? And that ego part of me was really being massaged, like, hey, you know what, I'm a big deal, look at me, everybody's recognizing me. Because I was raw. I felt like I was rotting in my office an hour outside of Vancouver. There was this calling for something greater, to make a bigger impact than to just see a bunch of rural clientele outside of Vancouver. So I just wanted to extend my reach, and the arts, the performing arts, whether it be through a video or dancing or now rapping, was my ticket to express my message to a larger audience, and it fed that ego part of me. So that was the beginning of the journey of the creation of the videos, is why I guess I'm speaking to you today, and I've changed forms of that expression and that sharing. But it's really neat going back to that memory lane and seeing where it all began. So thank you, Nancy. Wow.
Yeah, so you've done tons of videos, and as you say, they've progressed. Like I was looking through them today, and there was one about the spinal therapist, where
Yes.
you're the therapist and you're talking to
Like a
the other version of you, but it's not you. It's you're playing somebody else,
it's like a
and
couples yeah, it's like a couples counseling between a person and their spine. I figured that's what a chiropractor does, is that it reconnects the person with their nervous system, the physical to man the spiritual.
right.
And
So you have the spine talking to the person. It was hilarious, but
yeah,
you're getting an important message out there. So
right.
you're
And the credit goes to Tobin Smith, who is my dear friend. He's a patient and he's a filmmaker. And he was the one that proposed the idea, and I was like, I like it, because he was getting started with his, he did photography and filmmaking, he dabbled in that, and so we were both at a stage in our careers where we just wanted to express creativity. So we just started creating these videos together, and then all of a sudden I start getting all of these requests for being interviewed. And I'm like, that ego part of me was starting to get massaged. And I'm like, wow, I'm starting to become a big deal. So every time, and every time those videos were made, it was always done in response to a feeling of anxiety, because I was in my practice feeling like I wasn't doing enough. And so the creative aspect is this birthing that I realize, is that I'm 40 years old and I don't have any children. But if I look at my creative pursuits in videography throughout my career, those were my children. It was the birth of something, the fruits of my labor, of my heart, my mind, my soul, that was shared with with an audience, mainly chiropractors, that afterwards resulted in me leveling up in my reach. So those spinal therapy videos were the next level, and that was done during very, very stressful times, stressful period in my life, like my divorce, where I needed to do something to express what's inside. And so to the listeners, the viewers, that is creativity is the answer, is the opposite of stress, is the antidote to stress. And so I'm living it now, and so that's kind of is my message. And creativity is the opposite of stress, is the antithesis, is the antidote to stress.
Yeah, and we live in such a stressed out world. If you're married and you've got kids and you got this practice, and most people have to see people later in the day because, they come after work, they bring their kids after school, and it just becomes this huge difficulty with balancing everything and finding time for yourself. And as a chiropractor, I know for me it was too much. For me, my husband travels 3 to 5 days a week. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I know it's surprising with all these gray hairs, but yes, I I had her at the age of 45, so tells you how old I am.
Wow,
Yeah, I
Nancy, you got to be kidding me. It's giving me hope.
know.
You're
Yep.
giving me hope.
So yeah, everybody considered it a miracle because,
Holy crap, it
yeah,
sure is.
I know. So so at the time that I actually got pregnant with her, we had just moved to Asheville, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and when I look back on it, I really wonder if the fact that I was starting to have more balance in my life, it was somewhat attributed to my being able to get pregnant, and
Your
and
state of being was more balanced because your lifestyle, the choices that you were making. Yeah, absolutely. It's a game against stress, and it's not against stress. I don't want to say against it, but it's a perception game. It's alignment game. Is my life aligned with my highest version of myself, my values? And so what likely happened to you, Nancy, was that you aligned your life at the time with your true values, and your creativity at the time came in the form of a child.
Well, I started doing a lot of yoga, like three
Uh-huh.
days a week. We
Yep.
moved to an area that's gorgeous. So we left DC, which was crazy, crazy. We moved to Asheville, North Carolina, which actually is not that dissimilar from Vancouver or outside. Beautiful mountains,
Yep.
very artsy area. It's really, in fact, I looked into moving to Vancouver. It was one of the places that I checked out before I made the
Nice.
decision to move to Asheville. And we started hiking every week, a
Oh
couple
yeah.
days a week, and we started connecting with nature. And,
Right.
and I think that
You're
that's what really made the difference for me.
It's really about aligning yourself. And I'm learning that, the hard way, and that's, where my journey has taken me, because as you showed those videos, I started to align myself with my highest version of myself, which is the creativity aspect, the performing, the dancing. The stage has always been my home. So it was a natural progression into speaking and the creation of a methodology to help people change their story so that they can adjust above Atlas, and we can have higher consciousness level of healing, because the healing that happens from adjustments below Atlas are miraculous, as you can see in our office. But so many people's problems come from a story, from the meaning that they've made out of events that have happened in their lives, and the traumas and the meanings of that I just felt like again, bored, not making a big enough impact. So the next version of that was the creation of a methodology which helped people adjust above Atlas. I took off around the world, did this whole dance like you don't care who's watching tour, and I went to different chiropractors who I met around the world and started doing these workshops, and it just took off. It took off, and that was kind of the next evolution of that creativity, of where it's at. But again, yes, it's all about powerfully aligning yourself. So I know what it's like to be powerfully aligned. Things start to flow effortlessly, and I know what it's like to be to be out of that alignment, which that was the period that I went through over the past 4 or 5 months. It was painful, but now I've learned tricks and tools in getting yourself back into that powerful alignment. And the next version of creativity, of getting myself into powerful alignment, is teaching other people how to do that in all areas of their lives rather than just the emotional and chiropractic.
Right. So you're talking about the overview method.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And can you just, I was watching a video you did the other day about purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you expand upon that and how that relates to the overview method?
You bet. See, one of the challenges in my seminars, or my clients when they call me, or when you're stuck in your life, it's often because the disconnection to the purpose. So you're going, why am I here? Why do I wake up? Why do I wake up in the morning? Are you with me?
I am.
Are we still there? So the question is, why do I wake up in the morning? What is it that I'm here to do? And I lost sight of that for the past few months. What happens is we are all here for a purpose. Now, most times people have this opinion that the purpose has to be something hugely noble, like, feeding children in a third world country, or, delivering babies, or, creating massive companies and corporations, that, like Elon Musk, that are to eliminate our addiction to fossil fuels, or the purpose of going into Mars. It doesn't have to be that grandiose. It can be just as simple as connection. Being connected can be about raising a family of connected and well-adjusted human beings. It can be to elevate the health, like many chiropractors elevate the health of a community. It can be to be in, support for your partner. I mean, if your purpose is connection, helping people, whatever that is, you can do that being a Starbucks barista. But most people have this grandiose vision of what their purpose should be, number one, Or number two, they're disconnected because of another reason, because of events that have happened in their lives that have completely knocked the crap out of them, which is what happened to me, and it shook them to their core, and they have a resentment or a regret or a fear of rejection that's blocking them from seeing why they're here, so that they can go and live their life again, like we talked about, with a powerful alignment. The overview method is a methodology, is a series of questions that you can ask yourself that connects you to your values and dissolves resentment and regret, which blocks us from living powerfully our purpose. So the purpose simply is the conscious living in alignment with your purpose simply is living in power in a conscious powerful alignment with your highest values. Most of us are completely unconscious of that. Most of us have no idea what that is because we are blinded by the rejection of others, rejection and fear of not being supported, and fear of being judged, and fear of failure. And so once we clear those, the fog lifts and we're able to see who we are and why we're here. And then we can prioritize our action steps each day with the alignment of that purpose. And the overview method simply is a tool of self-inquiry that helps us clear resentment and regret and gets us connected with that purpose so we can live in powerful alignment each day. And it's a health-giving tool because when you're doing that, your health starts to get back on track. When
Well,
you're living on purpose, your health magically starts to come, back into fruition.
do you also help people try to figure out what their purpose is?
Yeah,
I mean, it
what
sounds
I
like that's the first step.
yeah. The truth of that is that it's not about figuring out what it is that most people actually have known it all along. It's not figuring out what it is, but what it is doing I call the overview method the adjustment above Atlas, because it clears what's blocking you from actually seeing it and living it. It's not figuring it out because you already know what it is. Everybody listening already knows what their purpose is. What we do is we remove the interference of you seeing it, feeling it, and then taking action steps from living it.
So, for someone who's listening that is not a chiropractor, Atlas is the first vertebra in your spine. So, it's
Yeah.
actually the one that holds your head up.
Yeah.
So,
Atlas is the
chiropractors,
Greek god.
yeah, so chiropractors consider this a pretty important vertebra because we have nerves that come down through the atlas through to the rest of the body, but some of those nerves actually come down and then go back up, which are the cranial nerves, which are the
Right.
nerves that, make part of the brain work.
Some
So,
chiropractors exclusively adjust Atlas. They don't look at anything below that. They think that if there's an imbalance in that Atlas occiput COC1 C2, if by correcting that, everything else kind of falls into place. So Atlas is the name of a Greek god that held the world in his hands. So that's why Atlas is the first vertebrae in your neck. So I call the overview method your adjustment above Atlas. So my practice now consists of adjusting people below and above Atlas.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, many years ago, I was practicing outside of Philadelphia, and I had this one patient coming to me who she had this pain in her butt. I mean, literally, she had a pain in her butt. And it just, no matter what I did, it never helped. All the chiropractic stuff, I did a little trigger point work. I just kept thinking, whatever it is going to work. And then one day, she's lying on the table, and I said, "Who is that pain in your butt?" And she said,
My husband.
it was her sister, actually.
Her
She goes,
sister.
"Oh my God, it's my sister." Her sister had been living with her, and they were having a
Bingo.
lot of problems.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said that, and she recognized that it was her sister, the pain went away
Interesting.
and never came back.
Okay, so here's the thing, Nancy. You just described the adjustment above Atlas. So I was frustrated in my practice why was I getting great results with some, and other people that should be resolving aren't. And I realized that it was an emotional cause. The nervous system is the brain body connection. And so if we can't ignore the brain, I mean, as a chiropractor, we're trained in musculoskeletal anatomy and anatomy of the body, and the fact that by adjusting the nervous system, by adjusting the spine, we can have global effects. But what about the adjustment of the perception? So what you just described there was the journey that I went through so that I could then help people heal from a global perspective. And now my clientele is all over the world. I just had a client session right now, live, one-on-one. And after I'm done speaking to you, I'm going to be talking to a client of mine who's in Ireland. And then I have another one who's going to be in Nova Scotia in the afternoon, and another one who's in Vancouver. So my practice has now become worldwide because I teach people how to adjust above Atlas. Now, the overview method, now here's the key component. If anybody's listening and they have health issues, and they're wondering, what's going on? The number one question you got to ask, and this is what I would have asked your patient, when did you notice? Are you with me?
I'm here.
Sorry. Okay, great. The connection could be off a little bit.
Okay.
When did you notice the symptoms beginning? What was the onset of the symptoms? And then the patient will say, it's been 3 months. It's been 6 months. It's been 5 years. And what's the next question that I ask after that, Nancy?
So what happened right before that started?
Bingo. That's the key question. What happened around the time it began? And then that's when they say, oh, my sister moved in with me. Oh, I got married at the time. One of my clients, this was the biggest one, she had hormonal issues. She's doing the nutrition. She's doing the chiropractic, doing the medication. She's done it. It's been 10 years that she hasn't been able to have her period. Okay? 10 years that her hormones that have been completely off. She's getting these uterine tumors, fibroids, all this stuff wacky with her lady bits, her lady balls. And so what I did was we went in and I said, okay, so what happened 10 years ago? I got married. So we knew there was a conflict with her marriage. So doing the overview method, and when I went to the session with her, we discovered that she had some various relationships with a lot of turmoil, but they were highly sexually charged relationships. So the sex was great. It's one of those situations where, there's guys that you marry and then the guys that you just sleep with. So throughout her life, same thing works out the other way around, right?
Yep.
In her case, she was with this guy she was with. It was kind of like a relationship that wasn't going to lead to marriage because it was that up and down passionate turmoil that was based on, the physical. So when she married the responsible one, the one who was, you can relate?
Yes.
Am I telling your story? Okay, so check this out. So
Shh,
this is
don't tell
very
anybody.
common. Okay, I won't tell anyone. So this is very common, right? It's guys as well. It's not just in the female thing. So what ends up happening is she marries a responsible guy who will never cheat on her, who's very kind of like, just
Yep.
kind of bland, right? So she's missing that aspect. So in other words, she has been repressing herself sexually for 10 years. And once she saw, because when I do the overview method, it's all about balancing out the equation, the duality of the situation. And she felt what's going on. What I asked her, this instance with her uterine issues, with her hormonal issues. She goes, I feel like I'm out of control. So what happened was, we go back to a scene where she was younger, where she felt like she was out of control, and I got her to see the power and control in that scenario, which was a scene back when she was 13, which was we completed and changed that story. And then I got her to see where she was in control in this scenario. And she realized that she goes, well, I'm out of control. I'd like to be more out of control in my marriage, in my sexuality with my marriage. And it just dawned on her that she was repressing herself sexually. This was the kind of guy that was just kind of like the vanilla. And those desires that she has about experimentation and all that stuff, the kinky stuff, she had put on the back burner because of a fear of rejection. The second that she put that together, within 1 month, she got her period.
Wow. Wow.
We did one session and completed that story, and I got her to get more openness and real and tell the truth to her husband. And all of a sudden, her hormones shifted. And for the first time in 10 years, after trying everything nutritional and medical, she was able to have her period. Now, I wasn't treating her condition with the overview method. I was basically getting her to change the story, abandon the victimhood, and get herself into powerful alignment with her values and connected to her purpose. And powerful things happen when you adjust above Atlas. And so I've dedicated my life to now doing both, to helping people from the structural standpoint and the emotional standpoint. There's nothing more fulfilling for me than doing both.
And I really think, I mean, this is something I talk about a lot, the fact that stress is known now, even the medical profession is admitting it is the number one cause of health problems. And, chiropractors have known this forever. And we may adjust to
The fight
help
or flight
people.
state.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're talking about something that's even more because
Deeper, yeah.
it's this emotional stuff that's causing the fight or flight. So it's so funny. We talk about the cause, right? And we talk about subluxation, and then if you want to go deeper, you say, well, what's causing the subluxation, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say the cause of the subluxation is you're eating at McDonald's every day. And if you don't stop eating at McDonald's or, any of those fast food places, you're going to keep subluxating yourself because you're putting all that toxic junk in your body. So to me, always, it wasn't just about the subluxation, but what's causing it. And we know
Right.
that thoughts can cause
Yeah.
subluxations.
And thoughts in the form of beliefs, in the form of events that happen in our lives that happen, and then we make an interpretation about it. So the overview method attacks the interpretation of the story.
That's fantastic.
That's really what it is. All the overview method is an adjustment of the interpretation of the story to restore balance and harmony to the perceptions and bring chaos into order, unfulfillment into gratitude, and reconnect you to your higher self. And then everything just kind of starts to fall into place where you align your life around those kind of truths.
Now, you've talked about things in your own life. I know that I think when you got divorced, that was like
That was
really.
my first big failure that really drove me into wanting to create something for myself that was a self-inquiry tool, because I did John Demartini's work and I was trying to get myself through this dark period, and I felt that it wasn't enough. There were events that happened, and that John's work, which I've been studying and teaching for years, kind of had some gaps that I wanted to fill. So I read some books, did some seminars, found some amazing things, and I amalgamated and created my own methodology to fill those gaps. And so just recently, I went through another major failure because it was on the heels of my success from last year. I started getting all my dreams started to come true. Everything started to happen. I started applying the work and seeing that it was working. And what happened was, the big failure was that I started to, instead of staying true to what got me there in the first place, which was my absolute dedication to seeing somebody through and watching them transform and watching them adjust their perspective and heal, I started to make it about me. The ego, the pride, the greed, the addiction and the addiction to the attention and the fame started to take over, where I completely lost touch with reality and started spending and not seeing the financial reality of my new venture. And I just assumed and had this paralyzing sense of entitlement that disconnected me from everyone close to me. So the humbling circumstance was when I sold my practice, I overlooked some major accounting errors that forced me to have to sell it at a fraction of what I had bought it for in the first place, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And it was like anyone who goes through, ups and downs in life, having a financial crisis brought me to my knees and forced me to look at myself and where I failed. And it was all in my own lack of humility. And this journey of the past few months forced me back into introspection and finding that power again, which is in my basics, which is in the dancing, which is in the teaching, which is in the speaking, which is in the adjusting. And one of the benefits of failing is that these obstacles that come up is that it forces you back into basics, of where your power is. And I have to say, it's been such an enlightening experience to go back into that and getting mentoring and getting coaching again, because I put all of that aside. I just assumed I started getting so big with this overview stuff that I stopped looking at the foundational basics of it. So I got back into basics, got coaches, got about 3 different coaches and mentors of different areas of my life. And I'm happy to say that I've found it again, which is all in the sharing and the teaching and the service. And so it's been a really enlightening experience. I'm here in Victoria doing a locum, getting my hands back on patients because it's been months that I've been doing that, and I've found my power again. And it's been really cool to see Overview go into the 2.0, which is all about reestablishing the connections with all of the people that I've disconnected with in the past 2 years because my head was down going full bore into the promotion of this brand identity. So I had to lose my identity to find it again, which is within the relationships with people, my clients, and my tribe. It's been great.
Well, one thing I love about you is your willingness to bare your soul. And you really, I've seen this over the years, even though you and I have not met personally. I know you mainly from the videos you post or your posts, and you just put it all out there, and there's not that many people that are willing to be that authentic and real and just share your failures as well as your
Yeah,
successes. and
huge. My
and that
losses.
and that's one of the things I really love about you is that to me, I just feel like you're so real, and I really hope one day to meet you and give you a big
Oh, we will.
hug.
We will. Oh, without a doubt, it's going to happen. I know it to be true. But yeah, I realized, I read a quote by Gandhi, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's so true. Is that my life is my message. Okay, your life is your message. My life is my message, and also my mess is my message. So it's a combination of both. Is that if I can take the shit that I've gone through, the mistakes, perceived mistakes that I've made, the regrets and resentments, clear them out to see that they weren't they were choices that I made at the time, I can then help pull somebody else out of their darkness. That's my superpower, is pulling you out of darkness because I've lived it. Not only pulling you out of darkness, there's 2 parts to it. First step is pull you out of darkness. Second step is help you live with powerful alignment moving forward so that your mess can be your message. At the end of the day, you are the highest version of yourself when you are living for another in your powerful alignment within yourself. So that's what I do now, and it's really, really been rewarding. But part of that is getting authentic and real and just saying, oh my God, like this was what I did. This was, and I'm very open saying that the successes of the last year happened far too quickly. They exceeded my emotional maturity. Imagine having a dream and sitting there visualizing your reach going global. And then within a few months, you going through some challenges which lead you on a stage which 500 people are chanting your name in a standing ovation,
Wow. Yeah.
and then having a photograph, and then starting to believe the hype, and then people coming around you, wanting to see the Nima show and praising you and telling you that you changed their life. Man, that gets that. I'm a human being
Right.
with an inferiority complex as a twin. Well, shit, of course I let that get to my head and I
Right.
made it about me.
Yeah.
And then I suffered the consequences of allowing that to happen. And now I'm back on the rise, sharing that story and letting people know that when you make it about you, you suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, which is what happened financially, uh, impact-wise, worldwide. I was getting requests and people from Lithuania messaging me. And in my, back in 2006, when I wrote my mission statement for the first time, when nobody had ever heard about me, I said, my influence is global in magnitude. This chiropractor just starting out in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, I said, my influence and impact is global in magnitude. And then within 10 years, within a 10-year period, within 2 years, I made that video that you shared. Now, all of a sudden, people from all over the world, including mentors of mine, messaging me going, wow, you inspired me. That's the best video. And I'm like, wow, why don't I just keep doing this? And I kept listening to that inner voice, getting creative, making that video. And then making videos, and then within 10 years, literally that vision had come true. So holy shit, I'm awesome, I'm amazing, and then
Boom.
crashing.
Yep.
And so now this is the reemergence of a more humbler version that recognizes his own power, but recognizes the dangers of allowing the belief that I'm better than others to creep in, and now being very cognizant and checking in regularly. Am I doing this because of ego, or am I doing this truly to serve others and serve myself in a balanced exchange? So I've become obsessed with checking in and seeing and checking in on my why in
Right.
every interaction, and it's made a huge difference. So it's our failures that really uh, help us as a launch pad to the next level of leveling up.
So since you've gone through this a couple times already, how do you really make sure that doesn't happen again?
Conscious awareness, by checking in, by creating rituals. I'm actually creating now a program that is now kind of like a 90-day transformation. That we all have these rituals and waking up in the morning, and there's books and tons of them on that. But what's missing there is how to clear the regrets and the resentments so that you could live that
Mm.
fully expressed life. Because doing these rituals and these affirmations and all of that, and the exercising and these commitments that you make and the accountability are very important. But still, the regrets and resentments need to be cleared in order for you to level up. So I use the overview method alongside of that. So I'm creating a 90-day transformation program that's action-based, that helps you clear the regrets and resentments, as well as doing all of those
Mm.
rituals. So how do I do that? Is by checking in regularly, every single day, checking in and journaling. This is the little thing, is journaling your wins and losses each and every day, so that you're constantly checking into your why. How do you prevent yourself from doing that? Realizing that what was your wins and losses, keeping yourself accountable each day to that balanced perspective where your power is.
So, Nima, since you haven't learned how to clone yourself, and
Yes,
there's billions of people out there, are you going to be teaching other people to how to work with clients? because
absolutely.
because what you're saying is something that in practice, I'm not practicing right now, but I did something very similar. I would spend like an hour and a half with a patient on their first visit, and I would really dig deep and get into these issues. And as you're talking, I'm realizing that I think I would still like to do that. I don't want the day to day,
Yeah,
but those
a
once a
facilitator's
month.
program.
Right, right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I am in the process of creating that as well within the next year. And the goal is by 2017 to have a facilitators program where people from all over the world will come, and they will learn how to take other people through. I already did it in April. I had 15 people come from around the world to learn how to be facilitators of the overview method, and this was part of the growth of it. And it was a life-changing experience learning that. And what ended up happening was I abandoned the whole thing because, I kind of got that, reset button and said, it's getting too big. I'm not ready yet. So I'm starting over, going with the solo gig. and creating this facilitators program to be sustainable. It's a kind of overview 2.0. So next year it'll be 2.0. All of those people are now in coaching practices now. They're applying and implementing the overview method in their own personal coaching. One of them is a trauma coach. Another one helps veterans with the Iraq War, and they're out there now coaching. So it's working. It's worked, and so I love teaching people how to facilitate all of that.
Well, when you're getting ready to launch that, let me know. We'll have you on again, and because
Absolutely.
I am such a believer of what you're talking about, because
Beautiful.
I was in practice for 23 years, and you have these patients that are not getting better, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for it, and I think
Yeah.
you're onto it.
Yeah. And this is it. It's really about creating. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm noticing is I'm creating a type of practice which is transformational. Going back into practice, I'm going back into practice in a part-time manner without the overhead of an office. I'm just going to be independent contractor in somebody else's office. But what I'm doing, instead of trying to build a clientele with chiropractic patients, is I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in transformation. So you can see me as a chiropractor, but it's going to be part of an entire life-changing, transformative type of thing, where we're going to get you doing the rituals each and every day. We're going to get you doing the affirmations, the visualizations, the meditations, the chiropractic care to clear the stress, structural stress, but also clearing the regrets and the resentments through the overview method.
Great. I want to make sure everybody looks for you on YouTube. Ask Dr. Nima Show,
Yeah.
and really dive into some of the, especially the older videos where you play all these different characters, because that's just fun. It's just pure
Yeah.
joy to watch that.
That people are asking me, were you trying to get new patients out of that? Hell no.
No,
I mean, there was maybe in my whole career, are you with me?
I'm here. I'm
Great.
here.
Maybe in my whole career, there was maybe 10, 15 people who came in to see me as a new patient because they saw my videos on YouTube. That was just to express my creativity. That's all it was for, and it was so much fun.
It was fun to watch. But people can also learn more about the overview method, because you also have a ton of videos on YouTube for that as well.
You bet. Yeah.
And they can also find you at drnima.com.
Correct.
And I follow you on Twitter, Dr. Nima, at Dr. Nima. Is there
Yeah.
anything I'm missing?
Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is the best. Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to be creating content, and I'm going to probably launch a podcast coming up soon.
Oh, good.
So this is really about helping people with true mind-body transformation, including chiropractic care, but not exclusive to it, and including the mental, emotional stuff, but not exclusive to it. So it's a mishmash of everything together for people who really want for in 90 days from now, that they're healthier, connected to their purpose, have a good financial blueprint of where they're at, with a structure ready to go of where, so that in 90 days they're moving towards financial freedom rather than uncertainty and downward spiral and completely disorganized. And the last and really most important part I'm discovering, because of the voids that have been in my life, is relationships. Restoring integrity to the broken parts from your past and your present, and really getting authentic with that. And it's for the brave who really want to level themselves up and realize, because I turned 40, and I looked at my life. I said, am I happy where I'm at financially? Am I connected with my purpose? How are my relationships, and where are my finances? And I looked, after I sold my practice at a fraction of where I thought it should. I looked and I thought, all four of those things are complete shit. So I was like, if I want to make an impact in my own life, I got to clean up all of those things. So I went on a rampage to do it. And my God, what a difference it's made in my power, my freedom, my creative self-expression. And I realized that my patients are needing the same transformation as well, not just with chiropractic, but with the adjustment above Atlas, and then living their lives in powerful alignment. So creating a program for all of that together.
I love it. I can't wait to learn more, because, I could definitely see myself working with people like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the first step is to experience that transformation and write down the areas that you're not happy in purpose, in your health, physical body, so purpose, physical body, relationships, and finances. It addresses the 4 key things:
I definitely need help with
purpose,
all this.
yeah, purpose, physical body, relationships, and finances. And it's a 90-day transformation, which includes, chiropractic. So if the person is in, Australia, I would get them to see a chiropractor, and it will be coaching weekly and in Facebook Live, in a Facebook group, a Q&A, and also including the overview method, which helps you clear regrets and resentments.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nima.
It's been amazing chatting with you, and it's been enlightening for me to kind of take a trip down memory lane and see the journey that got me here and bring me to a greater state of gratitude for it. It helps me put into perspective some of the challenges that I went through this year. So this is what I got out of our interview today. So thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
See you at the